In 313, a Sogdian merchant wrote the oldest surviving business letter in human history. And then an empire that ran the Silk Road for 800 years disappeared from every textbook ever printed. You never learned this in school. There's a reason, and the reason is darker than the collapse itself. For most of recorded history, there was a people who ran the world's most important trade network. Not the Romans, not the Chinese, not the Arabs, the Sogdians. They lived in the cities you may half recognize, Samarkand, Bukhara, ancient Merv, dead center of the ancient world. And from that position, they built something no army could replicate, a commercial empire stretching 4,000 miles from Constantinople to Chang'an, the Tang capital of China. They weren't conquerors, they were merchants, scouts, diplomats, spies sometimes. They built trading colonies along every major route. They moved silk, spices, glass, and lapis lazuli, and they moved ideas. For 8 centuries, nothing crossed the Silk Road without a Sogdian's hand in it. And then they were erased. Here's what they found in the desert in 1907. Near Dunhuang, China, a watchtower sealed for over a millennium. Inside, a bundle of letters, Sogdian script, dated 313 CE, business letters, actual merchant correspondence. One of them, written by a woman named Nanai Dihat, describes Chinese cities in chaos, the emperor dead, plague spreading, the trading network under catastrophic strain. It reads like a crisis email, 1,600 years old. These letters proved something historians had quietly ignored. The Sogdians had a fully operational, continent-spanning commercial network by the early 4th century, colonies in China, agents in the Mediterranean. Their own postal system threading between trading posts across Central Asia. They also had something more dangerous than silk. They had their own alphabet. That alphabet became the direct ancestor of the Mongolian script, the Uyghur script, the Manchu script. Half a dozen writing systems still in use today trace directly back to Sogdian letters. Nobody told you that. The Sogdians didn't just trade goods, they traded religions. They were the primary vector by which Buddhism spread from India into China. They carried Manichaeism westward. In Tang Dynasty China, Sogdian merchants threw parties that Chinese nobles attended. There are Tang court paintings of Sogdian dancers, women in Central Asian dress, performing for the emperor himself. One Sogdian name you may actually recognize, Enlushan, the general who launched the Enlushan rebellion in 755 CE. One of the deadliest civil wars in human history, up to 36 million dead. He was half Sogdian. His mother was a Sogdian shaman. The bloodiest conflict of the 8th century was ignited by someone from a people you've never been taught existed. And that's not even the strangest part. Here's what doesn't add up. The Sogdians didn't just fade, they were written out. When Arab armies took Samarkand in 712 CE, they didn't just conquer the Sogdians. They destroyed Zoroastrian fire shrines. They plastered over Sogdian frescoes, painted them out of existence wall by wall. Those frescoes survived under the plaster. Archaeologists pulled them out in the 20th century. Vivid, detailed scenes of Sogdian feasts, hunts, and gods, perfectly preserved because someone tried to bury them. This was not accidental decay, not gradual forgetting. Somebody chose this. Here's what was at stake. The Sogdians proved something politically inconvenient to every empire that came after them. A non-military, non-imperial people had controlled the world's most valuable trade network for centuries. No standing army, no emperor, just contracts, language skills, and trust networks built over generations. That model is threatening to every empire builder. The Romans didn't like it. The Tang court tolerated it until they didn't. The Umayyad Caliphate conquered the Sogdians and then rewrote the story of the Silk Road with themselves at the center. Then the Mongols finished the job. When Genghis Khan swept through Central Asia in the 13th century, Samarkand was already diminished. The sack reduced it further. The city rebuilt. The Sogdian identity did not. Their language died with the last generation to speak it. Their script survived only because neighboring peoples adopted it and forgot who invented it. Sogdians were erased not because they failed, because they succeeded. They built something empires couldn't control. So empires dismantled them and claimed the roads. What you were taught about the Silk Road, Roman goods, Chinese silk, Arab spice routes, that story has a missing chapter. 800 years of it. If the Sogdians can be erased, ask yourself what else was. We teach history as a story of empires and armies because empires and armies wrote the records. Merchants left letters, ledgers. Route maps, personal correspondence. The Sogdian ancient letters are among the most intimate human documents from the ancient world. They were never assigned in a classroom, not because historians didn't know Sogdian sites have been excavated since the mid-20th century. The academic literature exists. It just never made it into the curriculum. That's not an oversight. That's a choice. The history you absorbed in school was curated by people with reasons to leave things out. A stateless merchant civilization that held the ancient world together for 8 centuries doesn't fit the story empires need told, so it was cut. There are still Sogdian frescoes being excavated right now, texts still being translated. Every new find expands the empire we were never supposed to know existed, which means somewhere there's a textbook committee that still hasn't added them. You have to wonder what they're protecting.